Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. What it do, baby? It's your boy Showtime Satch, and after a long-awaited, return, I have decided to come back to the streets of Satchmo Chess University. Now, I've taken a little bit of break. Honestly, I really haven't played chess in about a year. I took about a year off, got back into it maybe last week, and I decided why not drop another video, get another 100 views. I got some loyal, passionate fans out there just wondering where has Satchmo been. It doesn't matter where I've been, it matters where I'm going. And where we're going today is to the chessboard. Now let's check out this game I played. Now this game was an older game. I was trying to get a newer one, but this one was played on September of 2023, so about 9 months old, but it's still pretty good. Going against Fernando from Spain. In this game, I was already 1730, we went to 1707, and okay, e4 is on the board. And we respond with, if the computer would let me go, c5, the Sicilian defense. Now, at this time, I was working on the Najdorf Sicilian, was something I was interested in playing. My opponent following the books here, knight f3, d6, and then we get bishop e2, and I'm like, okay, so we're not going to play Najdorf. He's playing a very quiet, very slow opening here. Bishop e2 kind of tells me this is a positional player, and I see that and I'm like, all right. Oh, my bad. We have knight f6. Then we have d3. And everything right now is telling me that he wants to castle kingside. Now, typically in the Sicilian, white will castle queenside, black castles kingside, and you have a fun game. This guy, he doesn't want to have a fun game. So I say, okay, h5. Now, h5 is not a great move. If you ask the engine, it's kind of like, wants to hit you on the head with a bat. Why'd you play h5? Now, the idea here is to scare him from castling kingside. I want to keep his king in the center of the board. I'm an aggressive player. I like to attack. Sometimes the computer's going to tell me I'm an idiot, but normally when, I'm not playing computers, I'm playing other idiots. So it works out typically. We have h5. Opponent presses e5. Once again, computer's not a big fan of that move for him, but we get takes here. And then awkwardly placed knight. I decide to go ahead and centralize my queen while attacking the knight. He's going to have to move back. Obviously, a move like queen c3 here, attacking my queen wouldn't work. As his knight is hanging right here. So he has to drop him back. Okay. Also, there was an attack on the knight, so we couldn't just defend it. If he, decided to play bishop f4 there, queen takes on g2, and, his position is not looking as good. Okay, h4. Look, I put that pawn there for a reason. I didn't want to scare him. I want to let him not castle kingside. Now, obviously, he can play h3 right here, and he's still comfortable to castle. But then also, if he decided to castle, there would be ideas with, a bishop sacrifice right there, opening up his kingside. So I'm kind of scaring him away from castling kingside at this moment. And he doesn't play h3. So in the future, me playing h3 is obviously an opportunity, which would be, devastating for his position if he decided to castle kingside. He decides to kick my queen away. Okay, we drop him back. I still want to keep him in the center. Queen d8 is an option there, but just drop him back one. No harm, no foul. He continues to attack, brings his knight in. I say, okay, takes knight, and then he takes my pawn. And now right here, I have option to trade my queen. I don't want to do that. If you look at my position, I have this pawn on h4 right here. I'm trying to attack. When you're trying to attack, you want to keep your queen on the board. Here we have queen d3, just trying to develop more pieces, possibly bring the bishop out and castle queenside since I did start that aggressive attack. Here we have b6. Now, once again, computer is not a big fan. I think it believes this is a mistake. Gives white an advantage here, but the idea, fianchetto the bishop on this side. Once again, I'm expecting him to castle kingside at this moment, so I'm still trying to bring my pieces over. Eventually bring my rook over to attack that queen in the center of the board. Now, he immediately goes for a queen trade right here. And, I don't really have much of an option other than trade queens. I can't move my queen out of the way because my rook could be hanging. So we go ahead, fianchetto the bishop. He takes. Now I take with my knight. And now, we can look at this position. There are no queens on the board. It looks pretty standard other than the fact that, once again, I have a pawn sitting on h4. It was a move. It was a legal move to play at the start. But, I'm advanced in development here. My knight could jump into the position. Might have to move my bishop out, but it's okay. The computer says this is completely even, 0.01, you get a hundredth of a pawn for white. So a fairly even position. So we made it out of the opening all right. Now fairly into the mid game here. Opponent goes c3. I can't really explain that move, what he was trying to do there. Possibly trying to storm some pawns on the queen side to, destroy this beautiful 3-pawn setup I got over here. And I go ahead and castle queenside. Castle queenside, now I can force him that he cannot castle queenside. This rook is, blocking that off. So unless he somehow blocks the position, he's going to have a hard time castling queenside himself. Computer thinks it's a fine position. This is +1 for white, but it's about equal here. Opponent goes knight, so now I don't really like that move personally. If you're asking me, the computer agrees. Kind of switch the odds favor black because you're kind of blocking in your dark square bishop. You don't really know where you're going to push it. You could push this b pawn and possibly get open on the left side, but then again, it's still kind of stuck over there. So kind of blocking his own development. Wasn't the biggest fan of this move, but it gets played in the board. And now we go h3, because why not? Now, if he takes, I'm very happy here. If he takes the pawn, he'd double. For one, I could recapture, so I wouldn't be down material. And he'd have this little pawn island here on h2 and on, he'd have a 2-pawn island in the middle. So he really doesn't want to take, and he shouldn't here. So he decides to push his pawn. But this also comes with its own, bevy of issues. I have a pawn here on h3. This is 2 squares away from, becoming a queen. Now, obviously, there's a pawn in the way, so I can't do that right now. But it creates some opportunities. Also, I got a nice little stranglehold in this diagonal right here. So that's nice for me. Now we go knight e5, attacking this pawn once. Also, there's some ideas here of sacrificing the rook for the knight, and then, it'd be undefended, and I'd be having an attack on the rook. So there are ideas here in this position. Opponent, he sees he doesn't like his rook on this diagonal, so he goes ahead and swings it over to f1. That's probably a smart move. I'm not sure how the computer rates that, but I think that was probably the best move in that position. And then we go g5. We're getting these pawns up the board. Now, if I get g5 land, obviously I could not push it right now. I mean, you can push g5 immediately, but just that knight in the center of the board, you could get attacked. Could sum up and sum up. But we'll get a nice little 2-pawn game going here, and having a strong, advanced king side. He decides to go ahead and attack that pawn, says it's a bad move, trying to punish me for it. And now this position, you can take the knight. I did not want to take the knight because after that, this pawn's kind of unguarded. I have to play something like, f6, and that would block my bishop, and I didn't really like that. So instead, we go for knight check. And now you have to take this knight. You can't go into the line of fire of this rook, or you're going to get double checked, and it's going to be ugly. So what this does is it eliminates this white bishop, and that kind of makes my white bishop even stronger. All of his pawns are in dark squares, and he's going to give up his light squared bishop. That is just tactics right there. That's good gameplay. And so that's what we do. We also have this rook right here on the 3rd rank. Obviously, I'd like it on the 2nd rank, but beggars can't be choosers. So we have an attack on this knight, also an attack on this pawn. He's got to find a way to deal with it, which he does. Now, a very nice move he could have played would have been knight e5. I didn't see this at the time. Knight e5 attacks the rook and attacks his pawn. So if I, move my rook back, drop it back, now it's a double attack. My rooks are forked, and I'm kind of fucked. I'm losing that pawn either way. So luckily he didn't find that move. Instead he goes knight d2, which I think is the more natural play. He's defending the pawn. He doesn't want to go down material. However, it is the losing play. As you see, Stockfish here does not like his position. Go ahead and go bishop h6. Obviously, once I push this pawn, we're going to have a double attack on that knight with more material coming over. So he's in a very uncomfortable position. I do not envy him at all. And he goes ahead and plays f3, trying to stop me from pushing g4. So I play g4. Once again, sacrificing this pawn, it doesn't really matter, because if he decides to take this pawn, we're going to have the rook come over. Also leave this pawn, very weakly defended. Once again, those sacrifice opportunities are there. And he pushes f5, or f6. And so I say, oh, gosh darn it, I guess my bishop's trapped, right? So we double up the rooks. So once again, threatening to capture that knight potentially. He defends, brings the other rook over. And now, what do? You look at this position now. Stockfish says it's winning, but think of a move yourself. What would you play here? There is the top move on the board, which gets played, and that is e5. Now, not to toot my own horn, e5 is a pretty nice move. If he decides to capture, this knight is probably going to get lost somewhere in the battle. If not, he's going to have a bevy of issues. His king is wide open. I have all my pieces attacking, so capturing it is not in his best decision here. If he pushes the pawn, now this e4 is a backwards pawn, He doesn't have a light square bishop. He's going to have a very hard time defending that e4 pawn. And, you know, things are bad. So what do you do here if you're white? He decides to play king e2. King e2 kind of solves the position. You know, it helps. It helps for sure, bringing the king off the back rank. You know, trying to move up and defend some of his pawns. But, you know, we just go ahead and play takes here. Takes back. And now you have a 2-on-1 pawn push on this left side. You know what they say about passed pawns. They should be pushed. G3, best move in the position, according to Stockfish. And, you know, what do you do if you're white? If you capture, you have this pass H pawn, which is going to have a very easy time marching down the board and getting promoted. If you don't capture, well, now you have the G pawn that's going to go to G2. So, in this position, he decides to take, which is probably the best move. And now we get rook takes, and now once again, we have this pass pawn. It's currently protected with the rook. And things are going to start moving. So even though that whole attack was threatened on taking that knight, we now kind of use it as a diversion, and now we have this passed h-pawn, and you know that h-pawn is going to want to march down the board. Knight comes up, looking to attack, you know, my rook that's defending my h-pawn. We go over, attack the knight. Now obviously I can't capture the knight in this position. However, he, you know, it's kind of just pinning his pieces, making it hard for him to move. E5, I don't really understand this move for white. I mean, it's kind of like, what are you going to do? You know, it's kind of hard to play any move here. If you move this bishop off this diagonal, then this, you know, the f4 pawn becomes weak. Obviously, that pawn was under attack, so if he did nothing, I could have captured it if I so choose. So, whatever. We get e5. Bringing the rook over here, so now we have a rook behind the pass pawn. This is simple tactics, tactics 101. If you got a pass pawn, you want a rook behind it, and you want to push it to glory. And now we get bishop e3 here, threatening, you know, some sorts of discovered attacks on my rook. And we go rook h2. Rook h2, there are some ideas behind it. Now, if rook takes, you don't want to take with the pawn. You want to take with the bishop because, once again, this white's light squared bishop is protecting the queening square. And since he does not have a light squared bishop, it kind of makes it unopposed, and it's going to be a lot easier than if I were to capture with the pawn. This bishop's already guarded. I do have a dark square bishop, so I'd have to trade off, but it would make it harder for me to get that queening. So it wasn't necessarily the best move according to Stockfish, but once again, he was scared. He didn't want to play rook captures here. So instead we get knight h2. Knight h2 kind of blocks the position, trying to force my my pawn not to advance, with ideas of playing rook h1 and stopping it altogether. However, in this position, we double up the rooks along the king file. Now, once again, if he takes, then we capture with the rook, and he's in a whole lot of trouble. So, if you're white, you don't want to take here, and it's kind of a tough position to play in. So, moving on, c4. I mean, he's just playing moves to play moves. I think better might have been, you know, bringing the other rook to e1, but then also there's, you know, threats of bishop a6. So I think he's kind of preparing that rook move to double the rooks up by blocking the check and the x-ray attack. So we just go ahead and go for it. We take his rook over there. I believe this was the best move in the position. If you take with your king, you're going to lose your knight. So only move, take with the bishop. And we're going to fill that rook in exactly where the other one left off. And once again, this knight's under attack. You don't really have much in the way of stopping the promotion here. And even if you play a move like knight g4, the rook protects that square. So really his only move is to play knight f3. But we'll go ahead and take a free pawn. Everyone loves free pawns, am I right? Also defending this h2 square, making it easier for me to promote. We get rook here, and in this position, you can capture the rook. That's playable. You'll probably still win a piece after rook takes. If let's say he goes bishop takes, king takes, pawn, and right here he's gonna have to sacrifice. So you'd be up a piece. That's a line, that's playable, but instead, the absolute best move in this position, recommended by Stockfish, h2. h2 hangs a rook. There's no doubt about it, but if you decide to capture that rook, there would be a queen on the next square. It's also somewhat protected as an x-ray attack here through the bishop. So you have a host of problems. Your only way out of this is to sacrifice the knight, which he chooses to do. And so now we're up a full piece in an endgame. And not only that, my position is much better. His king is, is being suffocated over here with pieces. He decides to move the king to the back rank here, unpin his bishop. We go ahead and capture up a pawn. He tries to, fork the rook and the bishop. That's fine. We love the trade-off. We could have taken the pawn here, but instead we go check. Goes back up, check again. We win a pawn, and I believe in this position. Opponent played one more move, hung his rook in one move. I mean, even if he didn't hang his rook, it was going to be bad times for him. But in this position, Fernando resigned the game. And ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have to show for you today. A very nice game. Played with myself, if I do say so. Now, there was some mistakes. Wasn't always playing the best move. Sometimes you got to be aggressive. Get out there and attack. Look, you're not playing Stockfish. You can play Mikhail Tal. Sometimes the computer says he makes bad moves, but if it works over the board, that's all that matters. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for you. And if you want to see more chess content, let me know in the comments below. Other than that, I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.